good morning, good morning to the Build Your Best Life community. I am Derek Durden, your host today, and we are having another episode of Conversation with the Guys. We have three great guys here who have unique stories, unique backgrounds, but they all pour into the youth in their own introspective way. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna allow the two guys who are familiar faces to introduce themselves first, and then we're gonna introduce the new face that's a part of the Build Your Best Life community. First and foremost, the guy, the husband of the lady who presented this platform. We're gonna let you introduce yourself, none other than Deacon Dan.
Okay, good morning. Good morning. My name is Deacon Dan Smith. And then Derek said, I am the husband of course, Deborah Smith. We have 4 children, 3 boys, 1 girl, and 7 grands. I'm a retired law enforcement officer of 40 years. I'm the chairman of my deacon board at my church. I work and mentor with some of the youth at my church. And I'm popularly known at my church as Papa Dan. The young ladies and the men call me Papa Dan. So that's something you're doing. I stayed in retirement maybe about a year, and then I went in and branched out to start me 2 different companies. So I'm enjoying life, loving God, and having a great time, especially knowing these guys here today.
Oh, that was so nice of you to say that about us. And next we have none other than Dr. Coach Will Bond himself.
Good morning to everybody out there. My name is Coach Dr. Kevin Wilbon, and I think I've been on this platform for probably about 5 years now. But I just want to say it's been beautiful. You know, it's a great ride, and I'm here to lend whatever kind of experience and, my input on whatever subject that we're going to be getting into. I am an athletic coach for over 40 years. I've coached young men and also women, from ages 5 all the way up to 17 through high school and send them off to colleges. I'm also an author of 5 books. I'm a military veteran of 24 years. I'm a retired military veteran. And I'm an educator and also a public speaker. And so I just want to say I'm happy to be here. And I'm ready to get into this thing and let's go.
That was a long list. I didn't get to count how many it was, but you got your hands in a lot of things, young man. And so next we're going to introduce the new face, the new kid on the block. Y'all remember that group?
New kid on the block.
Yeah.
Okay. This is none other than my brother, man, somebody who I've been working with for a while now, who's kicking up dust here in Dallas, Texas as a speaker. So I'm going to let him tell his own story, none other than Q the speaker.
Good morning. How y'all doing? I'm definitely the new kid on the block. I think I'm the youngest person on here as well, man. So I'm 28 years old, born and raised in Dallas, Texas. I'm also a self-published author. I'm a life coach, a mentor, a motivational speaker. I speak with social emotional learning, and I help the youth deal with the trauma and the grief that they've been through over the years. Definitely when they're in the prison systems, the juvenile systems, alternative schools. I like to go to the places that people really kind of scared of. I'm deep in the trenches, and I'm helping to rehabilitate these young men and young women so they can integrate back into society and not make the same mistakes they once did, like I did. So thank y'all. I'm happy to be here. Thank y'all for having me, and let's have fun. Let's get into it today, man. I'm glad I could help.
All right.
Great. The thing of the matter is we actually started talking about having younger people on here to give a different perspective. I'm the second oldest and I'm like 12 years older than you. So just having hold on, that wasn't no joke. That was like real life right there, y'all. But other than that, like to have a younger perspective, it brings a different perspective, a different light on the topic. And so we're glad to have you just as much as you're glad to be here. Speaking of the topic today is how does divorce affect the children? And it's crazy because it says a child who sees their parents being divorced is 2 times as likely to commit suicide than a child who has both parents in his life. Just think about that. Twice as likely to commit suicide.
That's Stuff.
So as parents, we got to start being more careful how we handle our relationships, because these relationships don't only affect us, they directly affect the children also.
Mm.
So
Wow.
we're going to go straight into the first question. Are there warning signs that a child is struggling to cope with their parents' separation? And we're going to start out with the new kid on the block. We're going to let you get off. Go ahead.
100%. I think anything that's kind of, because that's very traumatic. I think anything that's traumatic, there's always warning signs. You can always go and kind of reflect at what they're doing in school. You'll see their grades dropping. Maybe they sleeping more in class. Maybe they're not as responsive or energetic and outgoing as they once was. So I always believe there are warning signs. I think it's up to us and the teachers and the mentors and the principals to kind of, and the counselors to kind of notice those signs and pick up on them. And you'll be surprised how much what's wrong or how's it going or hey, do you need to talk would really help someone.
That's powerful, because I am a first aid, I've been trained to be first aid mental health. And that is some of the, exactly what you just said, is some of the things that they taught us, in being able to notice the lack of eating, the change of energy, the grade slipping. They teach those are some of the exact things that they taught us going through that training. So, Coach Wilbon,
Yeah.
you work with children all the time.
Hmm.
So my question is the same. Are there any signs that they're struggling? Is there certain tell all signs that they might be going through something?
Yeah, most definitely. In dealing with over 1,000 kids, I've seen a lot of mood changes. I've seen emotional outbursts. Sometimes they just sit there and they cry. They have frustration. They're withdrawn. And I'm talking about kids in school, kids in sports, in the whole 9 yards. And a lot of times they avoid people. They are quiet. And sometimes they just have be in trouble in school. So all those things that I just mentioned uh was because of separation, because of divorce, because a lot of times because of the person that I am a mentor, I pull them to the side to find out what's going on. And a lot of times people think that these kids are just having they're just mean kids or bad kids, and it's not that case at all. A lot of stuff that's going on in the home, we don't know about that. But and being a mentor, I've had those type of kids come across me, and it was because of separation and divorce. So you look for little signs like that, and it may lead to that what's going on, the emotional outburst, period.
Great perspective. Deacon Dan, dealing with the youth at the church, are there any tell all signs that they might be going through something?
Yeah, it is. They have a change in behavior, uh, their moods, physical health. Some of the common ones are they have an increase in anxiety, sadness, anger, and change in sleeping patterns, or even eating patterns. And they also have difficulty in concentrating because they're thinking about their mom, their dad. They're not together anymore. What am I going to do? And those are some of the things I noticed in them, in a lot of the kids. But I guess really, if you look at the ages, the younger age, it affects them more than I would say a older teenager. Older teenager might affect him somewhere in his grades in school, action like that. But a younger child, I mean, they get anger. They just get upset because their mom and dad ain't together anymore. So it really bothers them. So this is where you have to really talk to them, and this is where I always encourage them, especially the parents. Hey, you got to communicate with your kids, because you go one go left, one go right, but they got to be a medium, but you got to keep your kids on course and work with them.
Mhm. Yes, sir.
This next question is a tough one, but I think that each one of y'all can bring a unique viewpoint to it. The question that I have is, can divorce lead to a healthier situation for a child? And coach, would you start us off with that one?
Yeah, well, you know what I think it could, because by them, not being around all that negativity, and the constant exposure and the discord of, whatever's going on, in that household or whatever, sometimes being away from that, and that divorce would take all of that out of there. And, they can actually, visit the mom, visit the dad, or whatever way they prepare what they're going to do as far as the kids. I think it can lead to a healthier, you know, situation, for the kid or whatever, because they don't need to be around that type of stuff. And you know, different problems, different situations in homes when it comes to divorce. We don't know why, how, or how it came about in the whole 9 yards, but by them not being able to see that, I think that would be able to help them, as far as, leading, a better life, or, making sure that they're straight when it comes to that type of thing. So I think they'll, have a healthier living environment, especially, not seeing their parents, go to battle, because divorce can be very, very ugly.
Deacon Dan, can the situation of divorce create a healthier environment for a child?
It can, because if you reel back, when you got and doing a divorce, if you got parents that are bumping heads, you're gonna have a bad situation. Children going is not gonna, their environment, or they won't have a healthy environment. But if you don't have that, you high conflict that in the household, you're working together. They can see mom and dad is not together, but they're still working together. And this is how, help the kids. Whereas to, I've seen them where you had, excuse me, where the kids had, you got these different visitation or whatever. I think when your kids get to a certain age, if you allow the flow of contact, well, I can work with my child, my son, my daughter, anytime. The same with the mother or the father of that child. And that'll keep, that that'll be healthier than keeping a high, conflict all the time, because that high conflict, it really disturbs the child.
Yes, sir. Q,
Yes, sir.
let you bring up the rear on this question. Can divorce create a healthier environment for a child?
Great question, by the way, first and foremost. I want to say potentially. It is a possibility. I do believe it's subjective, depending on how the relationship was going, because environment matters, right? So let's just look at it like this. Which one do people thrive in more? Negativity or positivity? Like naturally. Which one do you think people thrive in more?
Definitely positivity.
You think so? I think people naturally thrive more in negativity. It's harder. Look how much more difficult it is for a church song to go viral than a rap song, and one talking about ignorance and things. So if you can separate that, then I think that it would be healthier for a child. Like, this is how it was explained to me one time from one of my mentors, right? If you go around all your people and they naturally happy, like you see your people on Thanksgiving, Christmas, and you feel the love and the energy, that's normal. But why are people so afraid to go in a room with a whole bunch of people who sick? If you got people who got the flu, you got COVID-19 and all these different things, you don't want to be in that environment and in that room. Why? Because it's much more contagious. It's easier for you to catch those things and for those to latch on to you. So depending on the situation, if it's yelling and screaming and arguing and the parents are unhappy every day, then yes, that environment is not healthy for the children either. So that's why I say I feel like it's subjective, depending on the situation that's going on at home. Because you also just gave me some information, some statistics that I didn't know. They're also 2 times more likely to commit suicide by them departing. So I feel it just depends on what actually is going on inside of the home.
See, that's why we got you on here. A different perspective. And just knowing that and hearing that, it makes you look at it from a different perspective. Okay, if they do get divorced, I just doubled the opportunity for them to commit suicide. But guess what? If we were to take a healthier approach and fix what it is that's causing the problems anyway, then we can make a better situation for the entire family. But I think that a lot of times we let our selfishness and certain things or egos get in the way from actually healing and building something that's really healthy for us and our children.
Well, let me ask y'all a
Yeah,
question though, real fast. Okay, go ahead, Dr.
Go
no,
ahead. Go
Wilbon.
ahead.
go ahead. You good? Go ahead.
Okay, I was wondering though, as you say that, and we're men, right? So I want to speak from a man's point of view. As you said, take a healthy approach. But my question to y'all is, how long does a man sit in silence and he suffer? What if he's truly miserable at home? How can a man operate at an optimal level and be there for his children if he's truly not happy at home and things are not working out with his wife? Is it best for him to split, or does he become miserable and he deal with his own mental health problems for the greater good of the children? I don't have children, so I'm asking that from men who have been married and have children for quite some time.
Well, what I was going to say, let me chime in a little bit. What I was going to say, it also depends on the age. Because if a child is very, very young and the parents are not getting along or whatever, in a lot of situations, the kids don't know what's going on. So my thing is, after they get a certain age and they see all of this that's going on, they pretty much know, okay, yeah, my parents are not getting along. This is what's going on, the whole 9 yards. So I would say communication is the key for all of that. Talk to your kids, okay? If you are going through that, have a sit down. If y'all can't talk to the kids together, then talk to them separately. Pull them to the side and talk to them, let them know what's going on, especially if it's going to be a toxic situation. A lot of times parents, they don't do that. They go to battle and they don't even think twice about, that it's affecting, the kids or whatever. So to me, I would say, because I have kids or whatever, I would think it's a age factor and an age difference. Divorce, sometimes I don't want to say it could be great, but if the kid is very, very young and you divorce, I think you can get around that a little bit more easier than it is when the kids, get to a certain age and they understand and they see what's going on. So communication is the key when it comes to that.
And to talk a little bit about your question, like how long does a man suffer in silence? And I've been married, but the individual where I was in that situation, I wasn't married to them. But there was a point where me and that individual, the situation was toxic. The situation was not healthy for me or for that person. And the biggest part for me was the fact that that individual didn't get along with my daughter. So it made me have to be in a position to almost look as if I'm choosing between the person that I'm with and my child.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the people on here know and understand that I was gone 17 years of my daughter's life.
Mm.
So to come home and be in position where she's been dreaming of having her father in her life all these years, and then she gets the opportunity, and now it's a great divide because of the relationship I'm in. I was miserable. How can a man who truly desire to be a good father be in a position where he's miserable because he can't even be a good father because of the relationship that he's in? And
Yeah.
so I tried it. I stuck it out for months. It never got better. So I think that, yes, you can create better environments by separation sometimes. And when I did leave, it created a better opportunity because to this day, just 2 days ago, I spent a time of my life with my daughter because I don't have that situation where I was miserable. I got rid of that, which freed up more time, more opportunity, and more space to build a relationship with my daughter. So to answer your question, there is a time limit. You work on it, you try to make it better as a man or as a woman. But if it does not get better, there has to be boundaries set. Because if not, again, you're gonna suffer in silence, and your emotional intelligence, your mental health will decline, and you will not be able to function at a high level.
Mm-hmm.
You got anything you want to add, Deacon Dan, before we go to the next question?
I'm gonna add something. I'm gonna do some. You know, I look at it like this: if you got a couple of kids, do I separate, move out, divorce at a young age? Don't put that in. I don't feel like I want somebody else to call my child. My child will call somebody else daddy. You know, and I'm gonna deal with it until they get a certain age. Even if they started at a young age, you know, like maybe 5 or 6, I'll deal with it. Because I'm gonna deal with it because number one, I don't want anybody else
Raising your
not
kids.
calling anybody else daddy. Okay, that's no.
Yeah.
You know, that's no. And two, I want them to get to the point of the age that we can discuss things. You know, we can get some understanding, and then that way, at a particular point, I feel that then this is the time that I could, you know, make that separation, and not just do it, you know, where you can't. I'm gonna be honest with you. You can live. Sometimes, you know, I know it's a difference in emotional and physical abuse. You know, you can handle emotional. Physical abuse, you need to jump out of that. You know, but emotional abuse, you can find things that you can do. Keep your mind on other things. You know, and you know, working in the church, doing stuff like that. But you can still get along with the other parent, and you know, be highly successful in doing, you know, achieving your goal. But that a goal that I would set, you know, and I don't go back over my, you know, no, I'm daddy. That's it. You know.
That's old school right there, boy.
Yeah, that's old school. He gonna tough it out. He say them his kids. So I ain't mad.
Nobody
I
called
ain't
my
mad at
kid daddy.
Yeah. And so let's go ahead and step into the next question. We kind of talked about the problem a little bit. Let's talk about some solutions. Q, if you would start us off on what are some of the steps or techniques or things that can be done in order to fix the situation or make the situation better.
Are we saying fix it in who the child for the child?
For the child, this is based on the child.
So coping mechanisms, bro. That's what all of this is gonna be about. Y'all kind of hit on it a minute ago, whether it's church, sports, if that's something that you're into, art, drawing, journaling. Those are going to be some of the ways to fix it, because there are positive coping mechanisms and there are negative coping mechanisms. So you want to make sure when they're choosing to cope, they're taking a positive route. And definitely, if we're talking about a child, I highly recommend sports, because naturally they release endorphins that allows you to calm down. It releases those stress toxins and those anxiety toxins and things of that nature. So sports or some type of physical activity is always going to be my number one thing. Counseling is a big thing as well, especially in the Black community. We do not believe in counseling, and that is a big thing. Like, we don't really think therapists are real, or you don't need to sit down and talk with somebody about your problem. And I used to think the same thing. And at 28 years old, I'm about to go to therapy now. So I would highly recommend that for anybody as well.
Deacon Dan, I seen you shaking your head when he said something about counseling. So if you would go ahead and give us some of your techniques or skills that will help that situation.
Well, you know, like Q was saying, how can somebody else sit there? They're trained by some doctor or of psychology that, you know, trains a physical therapist on how to, you know, different reactions work with somebody during these different times. But really and truly, I think it's a mental thing, because over a time period, many kids can adapt, you know, to reality if they got supporting parents. So I guess if you're saying if they're not non-supporting parents, where you got one is supporting, one is non-supporting, and you got to find out that medium, how to get this child. Then like Q say, yeah, let's go counseling, because I'm supported and you're not supported, so we got to find a way that we can get our child through this. And that's one of the things that I looked at. You got long term, you got short term. So, but say resilience. Just adapt, and that's what I feel. Well, over time, that this divorce, separation, if you got supporting parents, that's going to be a bigger thing in a divorce. Supporting parents and stability.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Coach, you look like you shaking your head. You got something on your mind. Let's hear it.
Well, Deacon Dan and Q hit on, the main parts when it comes to that. But, excuse me, the expanded support system is definitely something that's needed when it comes to that. Be it, mentorship, having the kids be around, adults, positive adults that really care and show them, that type of love that they need. And for the divorcees or soon to be divorcees, I said communication is the key, and you really have to talk to them. But when it comes to stuff like that, it's hard. It's a hard pill to swallow. When it comes to divorce, no matter what age or whatever. But as was already said, it takes time. It's not something that's going to be easy, quick fix. It's going to take a whole lot of time. But the kids, the young ones, all the way up to being 17, 18 years old, you have to communicate with them. You have to talk to them. You have to pull them to the side, and find out what they're feeling. Because a lot of times, the divorcees or the ones that's getting ready to get divorced, they don't think twice about the kids' feelings and the whole 9 yards. It's going to affect everybody that's in that household. So I would say that you need to be, have an expanded support system, have, friends that can talk to them, maybe some that even been through that, that's thriving, that's been through that. But they got to learn to be resilient and, and hopefully, prayer, God, all of that plays a factor, when it comes to this type of thing.
I want to hit y'all with 2 statistics. I need y'all to listen to me. It says that females who are daughters that go through having their parents divorced is 3 times more likely to become pregnant by the age of 18. 3 times more likely to be pregnant before the age of 18.
Wow.
Boys who are in households that go through divorces are that much more likely to become a statistic of incarceration. So us as parents, we need to start making better decisions, creating the fertile ground and setting a platform, setting that example. Because we talk about a safer environment, or we talk about the staying in a relationship, sticking it out. As Deacon Dan say, ain't nobody else they ain't gonna be calling nobody else daddy. But when we look at these statistics, it really shows like these decisions, the decision of divorce is a very impactful decision. And it's also a generational decision. It don't just affect you, it affects the children, and it possibly affects your grandchildren indirectly. So as parents, we definitely got to look at that decision, preparing for doing the mental work in ourselves in order to create a relationship that is healthy, and then to bring children into this world, make sure that we already have done the work on ourselves first. So we talked about it a little bit. So the next question, let's talk about a term that's kind of popular right now, co-parenting. What are some of the steps? What will be conducive to having a great co-parenting relationship? Coach, if you would, you can start us off.
Okay, I would say, as far as co-parenting and the whole 9 yards, I think that the parents, need to learn, to set boundaries, for the kids and let them know, what's going to be, what's not going to be, how things are, and what they're going to have to deal with when it comes to that, and that can lead, to healthy relationships, especially, when they're, apart, from their parents being together, spending time with this parent and spending time with that parent, learning, the valuable things that needs to be learned, and to teach them that, just because, they're divorced or whatever, that they still love them. They had nothing to do with it, but teach them that, sometimes life is not meant for someone, two people to stay together. And if it does not work, it doesn't have anything to do with that kid, and to learn how to deal with that. So I think that if they can be able to do that, once, the parents are split up, then I think that will move the kids in the right direction.
And one thing that I notice is a lot of times when parents go through divorce, children start putting their responsibility on themselves. They start to wonder, what did I do wrong?
Yep.
They put that burden on themselves, and they're not even able to even hold up that such a heavy burden. So, Q, what are some things that we can do as parents to have a conducive co-parenting relationship?
Man, I see this every day. It's crazy you ask me this. I think it relies heavily on 4 things. Number 1, stop being sexually active with each other. Y'all gonna co-parent. Stop being sexually active with each other. That's number 1. Number 2, have enough respect for one another to let your child know, hey, you have a father or you have a mother. Because once you're co-parenting, obviously both of y'all are going to go continue your dating life. You at a certain point, especially at a young age, if this is just somebody that you're dating to see if you like, that shouldn't be your stepdaddy. He shouldn't be going to take you to get haircuts. You have a father for that. And then if for the man, your girlfriend shouldn't be taking your daughter to go get her hair done or get her nails done. She has a mother for that. That's number 2. Number 3, I believe that neither side should be bashing each other. Because, often, especially in the Black community, we'll hear about this. Oh, your dad ain't nothing. Or your mama this or your mama that. So now you're confusing the child at a young age, and it doesn't know who to choose, because they're hearing all of these stories about, oh, well, my daddy was this kind of person. But then you hear, oh, my mama was this kind of person. So both of y'all are trying to sway the child to kind of be on your side. So now you're playing tug of war with a child, which is, in my opinion, that's not fair to the child. And also, last but not least, you cannot be bitter, because I've seen situations where the child may need something, and this goes for both parties, mom and dad. I've seen where a child may need some, and I've heard dad say stuff like, well, tell that dude you over there with to do it. That's not that man's child. And vice versa. I've heard, hey, well, your daughter need this, or the woman to say, well, don't you got a girlfriend? Tell your girlfriend to show her how to do X, Y, and Z. And when you're doing that, y'all are putting your emotions in it, and you're not focusing on the task at hand, which is the creation y'all both have came together to make. It has nothing to do about personal feelings anymore. It's about coming together for the greater good of the child. So that's how I view that.
That was some heat right there.
Oh yeah.
Especially that first one, that stop having sex. See that we like to, that we had that baby mama, baby daddy thing where, hey man, it's always mine. Once we got a kid, I can always come through when.
Yeah, that one he just said gonna be.
and because now y'all playing Russian roulette at that point, because now y'all emotions are still tied up in it,
and it's confusing the kid. It's confusing them. They like, man, they wasn't even together. But look at that. He come over, he go in the room with her for a little while, and then after he's gone. And next thing you know, hey, you don't see him no more for a while, but then you see him, come back again. That's very confusing.
Amen. Amen. Yeah.
Take it down.
I'm listening.
you listening, but now it's your time to share that wisdom that you got over there.
Hey, Lottie. I mean, it boils down. I'm thinking keep flying in my head is low conflict communication. You got to have low conflict communication. Q and Dr. Wilburn, they done talked about it. I mean, it's simple as that. You gotta communicate. It's no Q, I like that about that sex thing. That's a problem, you know.
Yeah, that's a problem, man.
Yeah, I say, what's your problem, man? Is something wrong with you? But anyway, I'm gonna get back to the subject. But you gotta have a low conflict. It's just like it was said, and Dr. Wilburn said it. You got to be open, especially co-parenting. You got to be able to communicate with each other, and you can't have that conflict because that affects the child, and that gonna affect your co-parent. So that's what we looked at it. I mean, a lot of them said. I'm just gonna add that a little bit because I love everything that Dr. Wilburn and Q done said, and I'm just gonna let it rest right there.
You know, I mean, we kind of touched on it on these last couple of ounces, but it's something that I just want to just throw out there. Anybody can take it and grab it and run with it if they choose to. How about that child's identity when you split them? What? Because we know and understand that we are a little bit of our father, a little bit of our mother. We take certain things from traits, genes from both sides.
Yeah.
But when we separate, we change that child's identity to a certain degree. So one of y'all want to run a little bit on that, or I just want to throw that out there.
I'm gonna step on you, Derek.
Okay.
You might change it somewhat. You know, it's gonna be just a little. But if you will notice, I don't care how old the older the child get, you're gonna have some his mom in him, some his dad in him.
Yeah.
I don't care how old the child get. Because I put it like this. I look at my kids, and my middle son, he's 43, and I said, dog, listen how he laughs, you know, and stuff like that. Well, you sound just like your daddy now. You know, I said it myself. Nobody else said that, but I pay attention to that.
Right.
And you know, my daughter and I had the baby son. You know, they a lot of times them genes stay in them. Baby son, he following. You know, I didn't know he was gonna go in law enforcement, but he's doing well. You know, he's a sergeant with the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office, and that bet. But those things gonna stand there. Ain't gonna stand there. It's gonna be there. It's gonna be there. It ain't gonna be a whole lot of separation there. But you if you pay attention to your kids, you can see what you know how much genes is yours, how much genes is the mother. You just pay that attention.
I knew it was finna get real when he said he finna step on it.
I want to comment on that as well. I think, like Deacon Dan said, it takes two to tango. So you naturally have your mother's genes and you have your father's genes in you. But the reason I think you say that, Derek, is like, well, it divides the child. I feel like it divides the child because of this. Have all of us on this call played sports?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Why was sports hard to let go once it was over?
Because it becomes part of your identity.
Thank you. So it's familiar to them. That's why. I think that's why it divides them. If I've only known from the time I was a newborn to the time I was 15 was every day I come home, I see my mom and my dad. That's my identity. That's what I know. That's what's familiar to me. So once they split, that's what causes the split because it's no longer familiar. That's where the pain comes from. It's not even about them not being together no more. It's about, okay, I'm used to coming home and then I can go over here, mom over here, daddy over here. But now I come home every day. Now it's just mom. Dad ain't here. Or I come home every day. Now it's just dad. Ain't no mama here. Then every summer I got to fly to this side of town or get drove over here to this city. And now I got to spend 3 months over here and then 6-8 months over here, 9 months, however the co-parenting situation is set up. I think that's why it splits them because it's a part of their identity and it's familiar.
No, not cutting off there. I just what Q said. I just saying, this been another chapter
Yeah.
on a child. How does it affect the child by being in one city, the mama in one city, and then dad in another city?
Right.
Like he was saying, fly out here to the father or the mother, and you used to come home there together. So
yeah,
I don't want to put that in this one, but that's something we could talk about later.
Right.
100%.
For sure.
Yeah.
And the piece that I didn't add that I should have when it comes to that identity goes back to what Q was saying. The mama saying one thing about the dad saying one thing about the mom, and so their identity is tied into both people. And so there's information that's being implanted into that child's mind that's not necessarily true. It's based off the emotion. It's based off what the one parent wants the child to think about the other parent, even if that's not true. Did you want to tap in, Coach?
Yeah, all I want to say, as far as that like Q was saying, the normalcy is different now, and the kid or whoever that's dealing with this situation, they got to try to figure out another family structure because, like he said, at one time they come home and they got both of their parents there, and then now you have to split time and go here and go there. So a whole lot of that is abnormal. You have to try to get used to a situation like that. So it is kind of hard for a kid, to navigate family structure, as you will. But my thing is, can it be done? Yes, it can be done. I've seen it done. I actually have relatives, that deal with what we're talking about right now. But the thing is, it is kind of hard. It's different, but it's up to the parents to make it, as comfortable and as normal for their kid as it can be. But you come home, you got your mom and your dad there. You can be able to talk to either one of them at any time. And then now you come home, it's either, you talking to mom or you talking to dad. And if dad is not really, hitting on what you need to know or whatever, then you got to go call mom. And then it could be a problem with that, depending on if both parents are, not toxic. So it's hard. Like you said, that's kind of hard.
Absolutely.
Hearing you speak, real quick, Q. Hearing you speak, you know what I just thought about?
Talk to me.
I'm going to go to daddy for things that daddy is good at.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go to mama for things that I know that she can help me on. And if I have both of them in the house, that provides me that solid foundation.
Mm-hmm.
But now there are certain situations that I can't go to daddy about that I would normally go to mama about. And
So now you want to go to mom. You don't want to talk to me. You want to talk to mom. And then mom, now you want to talk to dad now. You don't want to talk to me. So things like that happen.
Yeah, because there are certain topics that a girl might want to speak with her mama that she wouldn't even talk to her dad about. Or there are certain things that she might talk to daddy about that she wouldn't talk to mama about, and vice versa with the genders.
Dr. Wilburn got a little personal. He was like, you ain't talking to me, huh?
It's like you said, it really depends on, if the situation is toxic, because now you're tearing, the kid apart. No matter who the kid is with, depending on what the situation, they'll be like, why are you calling your mother? You could have went on and asked me that. Well, why you calling your dad? You could have went on and asked me that. Oh, so now you want to do that? Well, go live with your dad. No, go live with your mom.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
But I'm finna step on you, Dr. Wilbur.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna go like this.
Go ahead and get me.
You heard about this favoritism, where the daughter is the father's favorite person, and the son is mama's favorite person.
Right.
Now that's you got that there now. You don't have that there.
Right.
Because them boys are gonna go talk about mama because that's mama's baby.
That's right.
And their mama most of the time, not all the time.
Right.
Go let them know, he gonna agree with them a little bit, not much.
Right.
So that's you got to look at it that way. You got to look at that favoritism, man. That's with
it goes both ways. Even
Yeah,
if both
I
of
know.
them in the house together, daddy tends to, gravitate a little bit more to his daughter because he's a protector. And then mom, that's my baby right there. Ain't nobody say nothing
Right.
about my son, so it go both ways.
And just like once they get married, they out the house. Here we go.
Yeah, that's right. Let the games begin.
Yeah. Y'all know what, just to cut, because this just popped up in my head. Y'all know what else I've seen happen in situations like that? I've seen the child go into the parent role, and then the parents go into the child role.
Wow.
And what I mean by that is because, okay, you know how like when you was young, if you had siblings, if somebody broke something, mama couldn't figure out or daddy couldn't figure out who broke it, both of y'all getting a whooping. Okay, I don't know who did it. Both of y'all sound like y'all lying. I don't know who did it. But everybody getting a whooping. So just imagine when you over here telling your son and daughter your side of the story, and then the mom over here telling the son and daughter their side of the story. The child will go into that role. You know what? I don't know which one of y'all lying or who's the reason why y'all not together no more. And I've seen children not like their parents, and then the parents are trying to like kiss up under their butt and trying to please talk to me, or what did I do wrong? Yeah. And I've seen children start to control the narrative now. Like, I don't like neither one of y'all. I'm mad at both of y'all now. Now the parents are trying to regain the child's trust. So now the child is in a parent role, and then the parents are in the child role now. I've seen that happen before too.
Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm. Trying to gain that positivity and that favoritism back from the kid.
Exactly.
Right. So, guys, this has been an awesome conversation. I seen somebody step on them, and we
stepped on you and me today, Dirk. He stepped on you and me today.
I know, bro. That ain't like him. This supposed to be something serious for him. But guys, we're getting to the end of it. So, at the end, I like for everybody to basically give their summary, give their own perspective about everything that was said, and also share your social media or whatever information that you would like if somebody wants to reach out to you. So, Deacon Dan, if you would start off for us.
Well, my thing is, if a marriage don't work, the parents should never, and we done discussed this, bash each other. You don't bash each other, because you're not going to gain anything by bashing one another. So why should I bash you, or why should you bash me? Our main thing is make sure we get these kids, grown, being productive, and working together. So leave that. If you got animosity against your husband, animosity against your wife, hey, leave it alone. That's where you got to bury that. Because you can't build. Life is short, and what I mean by that is to have all this animosity against each other is short. It's going to affect you, and then it's going to affect the kids. So let's get rid of all this animosity. Let's raise these kids together. Let them be respectable young people, and move on.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Wilburn, let me drop you one last statistic as we start to close out.
Okay.
Children of divorced parents are 50% more likely to experience divorce in their own marriages.
Wow. That's huge. That is huge. And I would say, when it comes to that, I would say that, depending on what the divorce, what kind of situation it's in, because a lot of times, we were talking about maybe it would be toxic or whatever, because of they're going through the divorce or whatever, but maybe the divorce is not that toxic in that situation. But I would say that, some people, like I said before, they just not made to be together forever or whatever, and they decide they want to go their separate ways. But just make sure if that's the case, sometimes it can help, the kids learn about boundaries, healthy relationships. Sometimes it can help them navigate through family structure. But each parent should be able to talk to their kid and let them know exactly what's going on and love them and let them know it's not their fault. And life can still be great even though your two parents are not together, you know. So let's just teach them that, be there for them and love them.
Q, if you would please summarize or give your final thoughts, any tips, techniques, and your social media uh, for the viewers.
Definitely. Overall, I would say to be conscious of the decisions you make, and that everybody plays a part. So you have to understand that whatever decisions you make don't just affect you; they affect all parties involved. So that's the both parents and however many children are involved, and don't let it be multiple, because then you got real big situations on your hands. So I definitely believe overall that's what all of today was about, is when it comes to divorce and how it affects. Like, that's everything that we've been talking about, cause and effect, divorce, and then it affects this, and how does this affect that, and how. So that lets you know that there's a cause and there's effect. So what are you causing, and how is it affecting people? That's what I would more so go with. What is your cause and effect? And my all my social media platforms are Q the Speaker, whether we're talking TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, my website, any and everywhere by that. So definitely be conscious, be self-conscious about the decisions you're making, because they don't just affect you, they affect everybody that you call your family in this case.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. You know, we can never close out a conversation with guys without shouting out to Coach Deborah and her book, Build Your Best Life. Where your book at, Deacon Dan? Gotta
Give
hold
me
the
a
book
second.
up.
Let me grab it.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. You didn't
Hey,
fumble
Uh-oh.
now.
get him.
Somebody
You
gonna be
didn't
on punishment.
fumble. Yeah.
Yeah.
No. I got the book right close to me.
That's
Here we
all
go.
that's
Here we go. Here we go.
that's all
Yeah.
that's stepping. But
Build your best
yes,
life. I love it.
yes. So with that, we had a great conversation, and we look forward to getting back with you guys next month and have another great conversation about topics that we feel like can really be impactful to our community and to the viewers. And with that, I want to say thank you guys again, and all the viewers, thank you for your time and attention.
Hey, Dirk, before you go real quick, I want to
Yes,
say
sir.
I got to shout out to my son, man. He just graduated, man, you know, from high school. You know, he's the first out of his school, which is Westlake High School in Maryland, to be accepted and recruited by Ivy League school. He'll be going to Columbia University. So I want to give a big shout out to my son. It's a big thing, you know, to be accepted to an Ivy League school and to get recruited for track and field to Columbia University. So I had to do that. I'm sorry. Had to let him know.
That's a mic drop. You ain't doing
Yeah,
nothing
nah.
wrong. That's the best way
Big
to
shout
end
out
it.
to him, man.
For
That's how we
sure.
gonna end it.
For sure. Thank you again, everybody. Until next month.
Thank y'all.